Hello, everyone. I'm Arlie, and this is Cargo Bike Life. We're kicking off a video and podcast interview series with the legend, Shaun Moulds from Sheffield, England. And Shaun, if you don't follow him on social or part of any of the Turn Facebook groups, Shaun, when I say legend, I mean it. Here in the US, we don't use it that much, but he is riding his GSD through all conditions and figuring out how to make it all work. And I love his background because it's not a bike nerd. So, Shaun, thank you for joining us. I know it's late where you are, so thank you.
That's all right. Nice to see you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Shaun. I live here in Sheffield, a particularly beautiful part of the UK. Um, sort of my background, I was a mechanic from pretty much leaving school. Um, Range Rover, Land Rover, Jaguar, and that sort of ironically now. Was a bit of a car nut for many years. I had 10 cars in 4 years. Which is kind of why I fell out with them. Went on to motorcycles. I only had a motorbike for 10 years. Then found myself with kids, changed career, joined the ambulance service. Um, and yeah, things kind of, I ended up being sort of set in the mindset that I'm going to be stuck with a car now because, I've got two kids that I've got to carry around and all the stuff that goes along with kids. And it never entered my mind to that cargo bikes were a thing, really. Um, I watch too much YouTube, which is, pretty much why I'm here. Videos like yourselves and Propel and stuff like that. And it's like, ah, that's a good idea. Maybe that's something I could do. And yeah, so kind of took the plunge and bought a GSD. And yeah, it's kind of the rest was history from there.
And that was within the last couple of years, like I
Yeah,
started seeing you on
literally.
Instagram like 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, so it'd be about 2.5 years ago now. I actually bought the bike in January. So my first rides were all in ice and, you know, salty roads. We have terrible roads here for, we don't have really cold temperatures. We don't have really hot temperatures either. So it's very temperate, but it's just, yeah, you get a lot of sort of 0 degrees C, sort of there or thereabouts. So yeah, I actually got the bike in sort of the depths of winter and kind of thought, well, if I can manage this, then I'll be all right. And
It
then
only gets
sort
better
of
from here. Yes.
yeah, it only gets better from there. And in fact, it was the following sort of January, after I'd been riding the bike a year. Um, there was a particular bad sort of downpour of snow. I work about sort of 12 kilometres away from here, and I come through the forest because the roads are just deadly. there's no way that you would go down the road from where I live in Deepcar, which is sort of north of Sheffield, into Sheffield on the main roads. It's just too dangerous. So I come through the forest, and there was feet of snow in places, and it was just fine. It was. I always kind of treat my rides home when the weather gets bad or trees are falling and stuff like that to be a bit of an adventure. And yeah, this was no different. It's like, so basically, I rode back through the snow. It didn't take me much longer than normal. Every pedal was going underneath the snow line, and it was just fine. It just kept marching on through the forest. And I got home and jumped in my car so I could go and play in the snow in my car. um, but then had the realization that's like, actually, I think this is the first time I've used my car this month. Uh, and last time I used the car, it wasn't for anything other than just playing, really. So it's just too expensive to run a big car. I had a ex-police Volvo sort of estate car, so it was quite a thirsty beast. And yeah, I really haven't looked back since.
Wow.
Really haven't looked back since. Um,
So you're
yeah,
car
just
light
really
now or
enjoying it.
car free?
So my wife has a car.
Okay.
She's a nurse in Sheffield. So with her hours and stuff like that, it's not really what she fancies. So we do have a little VW Polo with a massive roof box, and that kind of gets us on holiday and stuff like that when we need to. Um, and we do like to do festivals and stuff, but we always just say, well, we'll just hire a car if if it comes down to it, we'll just hire one to get the stuff around. So yeah, it's been really good fun. It's been eye opening as well, and kind of it's so cliche, isn't it, to say life changing, but it really is.
I don't think
I've gone
until you're
from
into it, like it feels cliche to to say it from the
yeah
outside, but once you
yeah
have actually experiencing, you're like, no, actually life is better this way, and
it
I
it
take
it,
it
it
all
really
in and I'm less
yeah
stressed.
yeah, and so as I'm sure working for the ambulance service, it can be quite stressful at times, and you kind of need half an hour to just sort of process the day and sort of shut down and leave that at work. And there's no more beautiful way to do that than going through Warncliffe Woods for you know 20 odd minutes of my 30-minute
Mm.
ride is through the woods. And I know this sounds really silly, but just seeing how the forest changes every day. Every day the
Mhm.
forest changes, and every season it changes even more. And I just really enjoy that. And
Yeah.
you can't do that on a motorbike either. So it's not just a case of it scratches that motorbike itch, which it does, which I don't think a manual bike would do.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, because I like to go a long way as well, and I like to be out all day on the bike when before I had this and I had motorcycles before kids. It would be I'd go and spend 8 hours out in the Peak District and go find new routes and find green lanes and do some off roading. And
Yeah.
I never know where I was going when I set off. And by the time I got back, I'd found somewhere new. And I can
You
do that on
just
this
did
bike.
something like that, right? You had like a really far off commute like
Oh yeah.
a few weeks ago.
So so we have quite a few training facilities all over sort of Yorkshire. Um, So if I go to Doncaster, then I just take the bike. And the last one was in Wakefield. I've never ridden to Wakefield before. I think it's 20 something miles each way. And obviously, first thing in the morning, pedaling, getting there, do my training day. And then on the way back, it was, oof, yeah, we have something called the Transpennine Trail in the UK, which goes coast to coast over the Pennines, but luckily for me, it goes straight through where I live, and it's like it sort of forms a big sort of box around this part of Yorkshire. So I just follow that. I just follow the signs. I get lost. I've got an evening. Doesn't matter how long it takes me, and I find the most amazing little places, little old bridges that old pack routes and places a cargo bike definitely has not been before. Which
Yes, and that's actually a good mention. Sean shares a lot of his epic bike service. You definitely are testing where a cargo bike can go, but also just
yeah
you figure it out, which is great, and then you share it along the way.
yeah so although I was originally a mechanic by trade, um, I lack mechanical sympathy, I'm told. um, so I did when I well basically when I started out on push bikes, mechanics is similar, car mechanics, but it's a different ball game. I have some of the tools, but only half of what you actually use on a push bike, and things are just so different. Even to motorcycles, it's just a totally different game. And when I started off, it was sort of things would break, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to fix this. But now going, you know, because initially I was just keeping the bike in the house as well. I think that's probably actually one of the most important things that sort of got me into the biking sort of so quickly and so effectively was the fact that I found it so much easier to kick my leg over the bike than start the car up. You know, it's kind of a bit of a town that we live in, so everything's sort of within sort of 5k of here that I need. So, if I wanted to go and pick up pizza or something, or I'll get nip to the shop, just kick my bike over it in the hallway, and away I went. So I did most of my fixing after the kids went to bed in the kitchen, and I just put out a big sort of duvet so I didn't scratch the tiles, and put
Yeah.
the bike up on its end, and just crack on. And like initially I started having sort of I was overheating the brakes, which since I put my bike on a weighbridge after doing the weekly shop, I kind of realised why I was burning the brakes. It's very hilly around here as well. So I
Yeah. And
mean,
you have two
what?
kids.
Yeah, I got two kids. I carry I've got a second-hand trailer. So they go in there, and then I put all the shopping on the back. But yeah, some of the hills are 20% around here in gradient, so it's yeah. So all that sort of tinkering and stuff like that, just learning a whole new sort of skill really of bike mechanicking. I just did it in the kitchen, just trial and error really. So
Yeah, and one of the questions that I had asked early on was, kind of what advice you have for folks, and you said just kind of figure it out as you go and don't lose
yeah,
confidence.
yeah. So when you start out, and I think most people get this, it can be very easy to be sort of disheartened by little things going wrong, like you've worn the wrong clothes, or you're a bit cold this time, or worse for me is when you get hot, especially when you've got waterproofs on, and then you seem more sweaty on the inside than the outside. I mean, there's the saying, isn't there, that there's no bad weather for cycling, there's just bad gear, and bad gear choices. But it just comes to you. And the other thing is, like, because it's an e-bike, you get a bit of range anxiety when you start out, and you think, oh, can I make it there, or is it going to get me there? And I remember one time, like the first time I went to Doncaster on it, um, I didn't sleep very well the night before because I was like, oh, am I going to get there? Am I going to be able to charge it when I get there and stuff? And then you do it, and it's fine. It just works out, and it's just fine. Or next time you do it, it'll be fine. Or like, and now I'm at the point where I wear shorts all year. I get wet, I dry out when I get home, and it's you know I don't really worry too much about it anymore. So, and
Yeah,
it's
and
same with the breakdowns and stuff as well. And
exactly, that was what I was going to say.
yeah,
You just kind of
it's like
figure it out.
yeah, and that's always a good thing about a cargo bike is like it doesn't matter if you carry a pump and a spare tube and patch repair stuff and stuff, things like that. But to be honest with you, in fact, I just clicked over 13,000 kilometers earlier today with picking my daughter up from nursery actually. Um, and not once have I been stranded anywhere, and I've hammered that bike, as you well know. I've hammered that bike,
Yes.
but yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it is worth saying that it is if you use a bike like how I use a bike, they're not low maintenance. They take a lot of work. It's a lot of tinkering, and you just can't plan for a lot of things in terms
Hmm.
of. I mean, for example, like I went out the other, when I went to Wakefield, it hammered it down all the way there, and it's all gritty. We have gritstone here, which is fantastic for climbing, terrible for bikes and brakes and chains and stuff like that. And I checked my pads, and I had like 20% on them, and then by the time I'd gone there and come back, they were gone.
Mm.
And I think the
Yeah.
only thing to prepare for that is you have a spare set. They're 10, £20 for a
Yeah.
full set of brakes. You just keep them on the shelf and just throw them in when you get home. It's a 5 minute job when you're used to it. But I bet the first time I did brakes, I bet I spent an hour doing it.
Yes.
Um, and I did a little video the other day. I did them in 4 minutes. So it's
That's yeah.
you just
But
get used to it.
and I think it's you've if people have been following you, you've been bringing them along the way of like you figuring it out, and what's nice is it's when you first start out, it's like a car. Like you don't have to know anything, and then if
Yeah,
something
yeah,
happens, you ask, get on the Facebook groups or on Instagram
yeah,
or even
yeah,
call your bike shop and ask them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then, for the next time, and it's
yeah,
knowledge building versus like having to know everything when you first
yeah.
begin.
Absolutely, absolutely. start with changing brake pads. You don't need any tools for that, and you'll figure it out. You'll do it the wrong way first time, and it'll be really awkward and hard. And the second time you do it, you'll think, oh yeah, I know if I do this, it's a bit quicker. And then when you've done that, change a chain. Get a little chain braking tool, which will probably break the first time you use it. And trying to find quality tools is a bit of a minefield when you start out in this field, I think. And yeah, like I was really lucky that I bought my bike from Avon Valley Cyclery, and the guys there are just so helpful. Just you could just ring them up and just ask, and they'll just give you the information. They're not trying to sell you out either, which is unusual but it's certainly unusual for the motor trade. It's like everything's behind a locked door in the motor trade. You can't get the manuals, you can't get the information. I mean, I've even been stuck in, and you've helped me out in the past, no end, and the sort of Facebook community is fantastic for that. And I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't be here with no car if I didn't have that sort of support group as well. So that's
Yeah,
nice there.
completely. I agree. And I think that's why I started, and switched gears to cargo bike life, where I was like, okay, we need more of this. We need more sharing and feeling like we're part of something bigger.
Yeah, it's quite an exciting thing that you're doing. I really, really can't wait to see how it goes. I mean,
Oh, me too.
oh my gosh, if somebody can just figure out a search function for, like, I can't even find my own posts on Facebook. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're going to hear from me, because what I'm going to start doing is going through and start asking, like, hey, can I pull this, and repurpose it with, you
yeah,
mentioned, because you have to know that the Facebook group exists, and you have to know what to search for and all
yeah,
those things.
yeah, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons where I was like, I don't want any of this information hidden. I want them to be able to Google it and find it. And it doesn't have to have my name on it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing when you're on like a bit of a corporate page as well. This sort of like you can't always be sort of you got to be careful what you say sometimes. You feel, and it'd be nice to just have somewhere where you can just like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I know it's wrong, but it'll be fine. I'll figure it out.
I'll have you post that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I think it's I do feel that when I started out, I felt like, oh, everything had to be done right. Things needed a service schedule, and that's not wrong. If you're new to biking and you don't have the facilities to sort of do these things yourself in a rush, you need to sort of figure out how long these things are going to last and get on top of it, because the last thing you want is to be without your bike once you've got rid of your car, because especially around here, then you depended on public transport, and you don't want to be doing that. I mean, personally, we were
Yes.
lucky enough that my wife bought we got her a second-hand HSD. So if I want to take my bike off the road to do something, like change a hub or something like that, because I'm not that good. I can't lace wheels or anything like that yet, so it's still a
Yeah.
week in the
Yeah.
shop.
Yeah.
Um, but it's nice to have that sort of backup. But obviously, that's a bit of an expensive way around it. But I mean, to be honest with you, the amount of money I've saved on getting rid of the car, I just get a taxi.
Mhm.
For the 1 week a year that you might need in total to get taxis, it still works out better.
Yeah.
And you know, feel a bit greener about it as well, which is nice.
Yeah, totally. And you know that it's only a week, and you
Yeah,
can get on with, just like if you had to
yeah,
borrow a car because yours is in the shop.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did I did my special ops training recently, and that was in Leeds, and I was up for the ride, but the fitness test was at the other side of it, so I didn't fancy riding there and then doing a fitness test and then riding back. So I just hired a car, and it cost me pence.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised how cheap it was. I've never actually done hired a car before. And it's just so much cheaper than you think it is, and easy. And again, it feels like a faff to start off with. Trying to find the right places, but once you've done it, it just works out in the end.
Oh,
So
that's
that's really
brilliant.
good as well. Yeah.
You mentioned riding through the forest, and uh, Turn released a bike designed for that.
They did, yeah. I feel like they designed me a bike, and then they tested it in the Peak District, like literally over there.
Just
I was surprised they didn't ride past my house and never mentioned it. But there we go.
That's funny. Well, Shaun, one of the reasons I wanted to record this is you've inspired a few people in the Turn GSD groups, and someone has gifted you an Aurochs.
Me?
Completely serious. Yes. Uh,
Genuinely?
their bike, I'm supposed to call them bike fairies. But
Wow.
you have a Aurochs with your name on it over at Avon Valley.
Really? That's
Totally
amazing. Oh
serious.
my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, your stories have inspired so many. So this
Oh,
is
that's fantastic. Wow. Huh? I'm already thinking of all the trails I'm gonna go down. That's
yes,
unbelievable.
yes.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine a better person to deserve this. Yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, thank you them, whoever that is. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
say it's like it's like somebody designed me a bike for what I do on my bike, and and what I do with my kids and stuff, and the things that I want to do as well, like camping and things like that. It's
yeah.
yeah.
No, the
Wow.
the whole adventure cargo bike niche is definitely and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you do with the
Oh,
bike.
I
Yeah, so
can't
after
wait.
this,
Oh
I'll
my gosh.
I'll hand you off to Luke because he's also in on this. But
Is he?
yeah, yeah,
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, I need some parts from him as well, so I need to give him a call anyway.
add it to the yeah.
Wow.
It was yeah, it's been a team effort to make it happen, but it was one of those that I was like, I want to see this through, even if I'm not with Turn. So I was like, all
Oh,
right, I
thank you
need
so
I need to.
much.
And I was already
Thank
thinking
you
about
so
starting this podcast, and I was like, all right, this is the first one. This is perfect.
much. That's amazing. Oh, I don't know what to say now.
It's all right. You're gonna share all the photos. I'm very excited to see them.
Oh, I will. There'll be a lot of photos. People are going to be sick of my Facebook, that's for sure.
So, Shaun, actually, I think folks should follow you if they're on Instagram for sure. What is your handle over there? And I'll also put it in the description.
It's Twisted Fish. I think it's Twisted Dot Fish.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, not very good at managing my own socials, I'll be honest. But yeah, my Instagram's where I put all my sort of the photos that I like to share. And I find it's a much nicer platform to share stuff as well. People like me
Hmm.
on. So
Yeah,
so
it's been
yeah,
fun to
yeah.
watch
Follow me.
that grow.
I'm gonna have a new adventure. Absolutely. It's just in
Yes.
time for some. Hopefully we'll get some summer as well, but if not, we'll get some mud. So either way,
Yes.
it's going to be good fun.
That's amazing. And the charger's different, just to prepare you, but
Oh yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
you're gonna love the new smart system, and it
Oh
the
yeah.
bike was designed for you, so I'm very excited to
It really
see.
was. It really was. I just some bigger wheels. Oh my gosh, some bigger wheels. That's all I need. Because I mean the GSD. I've always said to my wife like it's always the wrong bike for what you want, but it's the only bike that does everything. You know,
Yep. Yeah.
it if you're going off road, a mountain bike's better. If you're going on the road, a road bike's better. If you're carrying a lot of weight, then maybe a front loader's better. But nothing does everything like a turn does, and that's why I really sort of that's why we bought another turn. That's why I've been sort of looking at the Orox so much, just because it's like it's everything that's great about a GSD, but with real size wheels.
Well, and it does what you need really well. To your point, like I
Mm,
think like the GSD is like an everyday cargo bike, kind of
yeah,
um,
yeah.
appeal. But for what you do, it definitely the Aurochs is much better option.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, maybe I'll be spending less time in the shed
I love
doing
it.
bearings and stuff, but
Yes, yes. Well, awesome. Well, I will probably circle back with Shaun once he's got the bike, and you can share some of your adventures with us. I'm
oh
super
well, yeah,
excited for you.
yeah, lots of range as well.
Yes, yes, it is a much bigger battery.
Yeah.
And everybody listening, if you're interested, go check out the show notes over at cargobikelife.com. And if you're watching, thank you so much. Thanks for joining along in the journey and getting to watch the exciting news with Shaun.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.